We're the largest broad-based business organization in North Carolina. We have members in all counties, all sizes, types and shapes of businesses. We represent about 35,000 companies, and primarily we take their agenda to Capitol Hill and talk about issues that improve the economy and job creation, and then very involved politically to make sure we can elect and re-elect pro-jobs legislators. Okay. Well, you know, I think over the last, really since the turn of the century, North Carolina has been in a tough position to compete for jobs. And some of the things that we've been working on have not been focused necessarily on rural, but job creation across the state. So we've probably spent the last 5 years working on issues that really have a big impact on the cost of a job. So issues like tax and tax climate, the cost of unemployment, comp insurance, the cost of workers' comp, the cost associated with the legal system, and we've made big progress reducing those costs. So we're now in a position where the second half of the century since the turn has been much more job climate friendly, and the number of jobs created in North Carolina has been much higher. So from a climate standpoint, we think we're making good progress, and from our standpoint, that allows jobs to grow anywhere in rural or urban North Carolina. I think where North Carolina is heading and where we're going to be able to compete very effectively is around the high skill, high wage jobs. So North Carolina is a top 5 manufacturing state, and again, there's big time manufacturing going on in urban but mostly rural North Carolina. So we think our community colleges are helping North Carolina be in the best position to compete for some of these high skill, high wage jobs because we're able to retrain and retool the kind of skills that workers need to compete for the 21st century, and the kind of jobs that are being created that are not only high skill, high wage jobs, but a lot more productive and allow North Carolina to compete across the country and across the world. It's the X factor, and that's where North Carolina is in the best possible position to win the fight to grow jobs, because the whole talent situation, I mean, companies don't go where the talent doesn't exist. So you look at what North Carolina has, you know, the skilled workforce, the work ethic, combined with all the horsepower around community colleges and university systems, and even what we're doing online, give North Carolinians a lot of tools to get the skills they need to compete. But without a doubt, if the talent's not here, the jobs won't come. But we see just the opposite, an opportunity where the talent's here. And probably the biggest challenge we face in North Carolina is matching up the jobs to the talent where it lives. But we have a very high number of certified skilled workers. So again, North Carolina's in a strong position to compete, but it's really all about talent. Well, I think it's been a great partnership because I think when you look at the history of Golden Leaf and really where those resources have come from, they've really taken resources from a part of our economy that was very much part of our past. And now with the tobacco settlement money, he's been able to monetize that and move it forward and really reinvest in some of the rural areas of our state that are probably the most economically challenged, but investing in projects that Golden Leaf sees as a good investment, and North Carolina does as well. So I think North Carolina has benefited from their partnership, you know, working in parts of the state that are real challenged. Well, I think North Carolina is making some big investments to kind of bridge some of those gaps. We've already talked about the investment in talent, but we're also making a big investment in infrastructure. So you've seen this legislature spend $1.2 billion every 2 years on roads, and from our standpoint, those are economic lifelines. They connect rural, urban, interstate, across the world, but the right kind of road infrastructure can make a big difference. We have a bond issue on the ballot in March 15th that again brings important infrastructure, education infrastructure to every county in North Carolina, including some of the most challenged rural communities. So you probably see more of an investment attitude in North Carolina where we're taking a growing economy, increasing opportunity, and reinvesting back into some key areas where we think it would make a pretty big bet for the future and make a big difference for North Carolina. Yeah, I think one of the big bets that North Carolina made that almost no one talks about is the bet in broadband. We have, I think, as much, if not more, dark fiber in the ground than almost any state in America. And the potential that opens up for our state is enormous. To connect hospitals and schools and community colleges and universities, it really puts North Carolina in a very strong competitive position. We can start to bring information, data, big data, education, infrastructure, information to anywhere in North Carolina. That's a real competitive advantage for our state, and that's a multi-billion-dollar investment that's been made. The business community took a real hard look at that about 4 years ago, and they came to the conclusion that the best way we can kind of marry up the private and the public sector is that the private sector in North Carolina has basically put a lot of resources into developing a long-range plan for North Carolina's future called Vision 2030. So the good news is North Carolina has a plan. We have a plan for economic growth, job creation, investment in talent, the need to be competitive, and really focusing on entrepreneurship. So I think what would give anyone great comfort in this state is in the private sector, business leaders are all in with an economic growth strategy to basically move our state ahead and accommodate the 3 million more people that are moving here by 2030 and create the million jobs that need to happen if North Carolina is going to be the best state for business. And then in the public sector, regardless of what level of government, I think it's great assurance to know that the business community is all in on a comprehensive growth strategy that makes sure, North Carolina is the #1 state for jobs. Yeah, it's really what has to happen, whether it's in rural communities across the state. I think the states that are the big winners in this economic recovery, and we're certainly one of them, have been states that have been really economically challenged and have figured out that big things happen when people work together. And I think North Carolina is a great example that literally on this issue, it's not a Republican-Democrat issue, it's not an urban-rural issue, it's how do you grow the economy and put more people to work? And that's the kind of collaboration that's really helped our state move forward. It's hard to say what kind of economy will look like, but I think you certainly see opportunities in urban areas that will continue to grow. But I think in rural areas, you've already seen a lot of businesses find locating in those areas very attractive, whether it's a steel mill, a chemical plant, any kind of other manufacturing opportunity. But I think the future for us is high-skill, high-wage manufacturing in the rural areas, and then some of the other financial service, IT, technology jobs in the urban areas. But North Carolina is kind of wide open for growth, and you see a lot of companies and a lot of states busy looking at this state to say, a lot of assets combined with a great place to live and work, it's now becoming a great place to do business. From our standpoint, we're actually collaborating, to your point earlier, with folks like the Golden Leaf and probably dozens of organizations across the state to really kind of get a handle on not only some of the unique rural challenges, but what are some of the things that government can do, public policy changes we can make to enable more competition. So we look forward to visiting at this conference in April, and then as the short session begins, bringing forth some of those ideas to the legislature. But our journey to kind of uncover some of the challenges has just begun. We'll probably hold a series of about 6 or 8 meetings across the state to get feedback. But again, I think you have a business community that's interested in making sure that all 100 counties are thriving. North Carolina is not alone. I mean, this is a set of challenges that most states in America are facing. But I think what excites us about where we see this journey going is when the economic pie is growing, there's more opportunity, and that's just not more opportunity in urban areas, but it's more opportunity in rural areas. So North Carolina's growth vector, we think, poses a lot of great opportunity for all areas of our state.